Well, thank you for being here for this info session on the first year abroad Ecuador program. We're going to take the next, 15, 20 minutes or so and just do a little bit of an overview of the course and the program, and then answer any questions you might have. Moses, I don't know if you're able to put your camera on for a second so we can see you just for quick introductions or excellent. So my name is Scott Ozorowski. I work in the study abroad office. I help coordinate all of the first year programs, kind of the logistics and application process. And I'll have Windsor and Sarah introduce themselves.
Hi, Moses. I'm Dr. Windsor Aguirre. I'm a professor in the Department of Biological Sciences, and I work in evolutionary biology, ichthyology, and conservation.
Hi, I'm Sarah Fink. I'm a staff member here at DePaul. I actually work with Dr. Aguirre in the biology department. I advise biology and neuroscience majors.
All right, well, we're going to kind of just go through some information here. I'm going to have Windsor talk a little bit about the program and the itinerary, and I'll talk about some of the logistical details. So go ahead, Windsor.
Yeah, and one thing I'll say just before I start is that my family's originally from Ecuador. So I was actually born in New York, but I lived in Ecuador for 10 years, and I do research there on the freshwater fish. So that's why I'm running a couple of different study abroad programs there. But it's great for this study abroad program in particular because it's really one of the most biodiverse places on Earth. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Okay. So you probably know that the Earth's ecosystems are not doing great. There's a lot of people, and there's over 8 billion of us now. And these people need resources. We need land. We need food. We modify the land in major ways. We're having effects on the composition of the atmosphere. So we're really impacting every aspect of the Earth. And natural species in nature are being forced to either adapt to us, which some are, or they're going extinct. And the magnitude of the problem is so large that some biologists have dubbed the time that we're going through as the sixth extinction. And they propose that this geological epoch be called the Anthropocene, which anthro is for humans. And so, basically the time of humans um, to highlight the impact that we're having on the planet. And so, as a consequence of this, we're having large scale extinctions. And the sixth extinction, the point is, there have been 5 major mass extinctions in the history of our planet. So the magnitude of the extinction that we're seeing in terms of populations and species is so high that it's comparable to one of the other natural major mass extinctions that has happened, usually because of, a meteor hitting the Earth or something like that. So next slide. In this course, this is a seminar course, so we'll be discussing the problem and how what the causes of the problem are, how it's affecting different types of ecosystems. So we'll be reading a book called The Sixth Extinction, which is a popular science book by Elizabeth Colbert. And this is a really well-written book. It won the Pulitzer Prize some years ago. The students tend to like it quite a bit. It goes into a number of different issues. And this is a focal seminar, which means, oh, my camera turned off. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, let me
We
see
can still hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. A gremlin. I sorry I didn't press that button. But this is a focal point seminar. So it's going to be a lot of as is the case with all seminars, it's going to be a lot of participation on the part of students. So we'll be reading the book and we'll be reading some additional papers, and then we'll be talking about the problems and learning about them. So you'll be presenting and we'll have group discussions and then broad class discussions. We're going to meet in the Windsor Quarter Tuesdays from 1 to 4:10 p.m. And then we're going to basically be, like I said, reading this book and reading papers associated with the topic. So next slide.
Yep. So something important to know then, if you are looking at doing this program, make sure as you are creating your winter quarter schedule that you don't have any classes Tuesday afternoons, because that does have to be free. This is the class that's going to meet consistently for all 10 weeks, Tuesday afternoons. So just know that as you put together your winter quarter schedule.
So biologically, you're going to learn about what we mean by biodiversity. How do we measure it? How is it distributed? How does it originate? And why does biodiversity matter for the functioning of natural ecosystems in our planet? So we'll talk all about that, and we'll go into the biology of biodiversity. We'll also talk about some of the major factors that are causing the extinction crisis, and these are going to vary depending on the types of ecosystems that we're looking at. Next slide. From there, after we go into the biology of biodiversity, we'll talk about the economics of the problem. So what are the economic drivers that are causing humans to do all these things to the planet? And also, some time ago, economists realized that we usually take what biodiversity and what nature gives us, we take that for granted as if it really has no value. And so economists have learned that they can calculate the value of the services that the planet provides people, like creating and filtering clean water so that large human populations can use water. And so we'll learn about how they go about doing that and what the cost is as we lose natural ecosystems, what the cost is going to be in terms of having to replace the services that we get from nature when we have to create them ourselves. What does it cost when we have to purify highly contaminated water? What happens when the temperature patterns of temperature on Earth no longer are able to support the crops that we need or the animals that we need to feed ourselves? So we'll go into that economic component, and then we'll also talk about the ethics of the problem. And so, you kind of know that there's that we're one species of, around 10 million to 100 million, depending on how you count species on Earth. And what does it mean that we are driving these other species to extinction, and that animals, many other animals, including many large-bodied animals, other mammals, other primates, are suffering? And so how do we address that, what we're doing ethically, and can ethical arguments be used to effectively convince populations to maybe do a little better in the future? Next slide. So Ecuador, why Ecuador? Ecuador is almost designed for a course like this because it's a very small country. It's the size of the state of Arizona in the US, not very large at all. You can drive across the country in, I would say a day. And but it has an incredible diversity of ecosystems. So there's a coastal region that has these just spectacular beaches on it with very rich oceanic ecosystems. We have large populations of whales and dolphins and sea turtles, obviously marine fish and all sorts of invertebrates, seabirds, enormous colonies of many different species of seabirds. Then if you go a little bit inland, there's the Andes Mountains, which is one of the major mountain systems on Earth. They span from northern South America all the way down to Chile. It's one of the longest mountain chains on Earth. It may be the longest. I don't remember now. And it's one of the tallest also. These mountains are huge. And so you go over the mountains in Ecuador very quickly. And as you go up the mountains, the conditions change rapidly. And so you see a huge diversity of different animals and plants. And at the tops of, close to the high elevations of the mountains, you get very different types of ecosystems where there's really no trees. There's páramo, there's Andean condors, there's speckled bears. So there's a whole suite of different species there. And then when you go down the mountains on the other side, it's rainforest. It's Amazonian rainforest. So the eastern side of Ecuador, on the other side of the Andes, are the headwaters of the Amazon River. So the rivers that start there, they go all the way across South America, from the very close to the Pacific Ocean, all the way across South America through Peru. Um, and can you hear me? Yeah, you can hear me still. Sorry about that. I don't know um,
Yeah,
what's
we can
going
hear you.
on.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So, so the rivers there go all the way across South America through Brazil and eventually drain into the Amazon River. And so these are some of the most biodiverse ecosystems on Earth, the rainforest there, and it's incredible diversity of insects and plants, large mammals. There's river dolphins, there's anacondas, crocodiles, lots of monkeys. So very, very, very high levels of biodiversity. So we'll stay with a native community in the rainforest, and they'll teach us about their interaction with the rainforest. Native communities depend very heavily on the forest and on the animals and plants for their health, for their food, for shelter. So they'll teach us how important it is to us. We'll meet with conservation biologists. We'll meet with some people that study Andean condors in the mountains. We'll meet with someone that does research on whales and dolphins on the Pacific. So in each of these areas, we'll be meeting with local Ecuadorian people, scientists, conservation biologists, and they'll tell us about the ecosystems and the threats to those ecosystems. Next slide. And you're going to fly to Ecuador during the spring. So we'll have the regular course in the winter quarter. We'll meet every week for, during that time period. And then during spring break, we leave Thursday of finals week. So you kind of have to coordinate that a little bit with your professors. Usually it hasn't been an issue. And then we'll leave Thursday and then we'll be gone, that weekend, a spring break, and then we'll return the following weekend for you start classes in the spring. And we'll visit all those different habitats, the high Andes, the Paramo, very high elevations, cold temperatures, snow, Yasuni, the Amazon rainforest, where we stay with the native community of people that live there, and then we'll wind up as almost any study abroad should on the beach. And so we'll visit an island off the coast of Ecuador called Isla La Plata, which people call the Little Galapagos, because it has lots of marine mammals, sea turtles, and seabird colonies. So blue-footed boobies, magnificent frigates, tropic birds, very large bird colonies there. So we'll visit that and learn about those. In each of these places, learn about the different ecosystems, but see them, but also about the different threats. In the ocean ecosystems, it's going to be fishing, microplastics, global warming, ocean acidification. In the high Andes, global warming again, but deforestation, agriculture, and growing of cows. Livestock is grown a lot in the mountains. And the rainforest region, there's oil and a number of other threats to that ecosystem. But it's one of the things we'll learn about. The place we'll visit is one of the most biodiverse places on Earth. And underneath, it has one of the largest oil deposits on Earth, which is causing a significant conflict as the government is, exploiting that for economic gain, which is obviously something that they need. So we'll talk about these issues. And so we'll be leaving Thursday, the 19th of March, and then we'll be gone, then you can see the itinerary where the green is the Amazon rainforest ecosystem, the yellow are the mountains. So we'll be in the mountains and see the Andean condors, probably the 20th. And then we'll finish going to Puerto Lopez, which is a coastal ecosystem, and then fly back to O'Hare Saturday, the 28th. So you can
All right.
apply, make sure to apply by the deadline, because
I can take this section over. So thanks, Windsor. So yeah, the deadline is November 1st. So if you are interested, make sure you open your application and get your application in by then. You go to the website, click on the blue "How to Apply Now" button, and it's just a handful of questions about why you want to do the program. There will also be a short kind of group interview info session for everybody who has applied that will happen around November 1st. It's a good chance for Windsor and Sarah to get to know everybody who applied as we're making the decisions about everything. And then we will let you know by mid-November if you've gotten a spot on the program. We can take up to 20 students on the program. Um, there are scholarships available. There is no separate scholarship application. So as long as you apply by November 1st, you will automatically be considered for our scholarships. And that scholarship funding is determined by financial need and by your grades. And so we work with the financial aid office to see everybody's FAFSA and their financial need status. And then we also look at your grades, either at DePaul or as a first-year student, we will look at your high school grades. But we are working to give as much scholarship funding as we can to students with need. Those scholarships can range anywhere from $1,000 up to almost the full cost of the program. And there is no commitment at the time that you apply. So I always tell students, if you are unsure, apply for the program, see if you get accepted, see if you get a scholarship and how much it's for. And then at that point, you can decide if you want to move forward or if you decide not to. And we will let you know right around the same time if you've been accepted, and within a day or so, you will know what kind of scholarship funding you got if you did get any scholarship funding. And then the cost of the program. So each study abroad program does have a cost. The cost for this program to Ecuador is $4,350. But it covers basically everything. It is your round trip airfare from Chicago to Ecuador with the group, all your accommodations, all your meals, all your activities, excursions, transportation, as well as international travel and health insurance. So it is comprehensive. The only thing you are going to need really on top of that is just a little spending money for things you might do in your personal time. But really everything else is included. And like I said, we do have scholarship funding, and those scholarships can range from $1,000 up to almost the full cost of the program. You also do pay tuition for doing the courses, but they are just treated like regular courses. So as long as you don't go over 18 credit hours in the winter quarter, there will be no additional tuition. Your tuition is going to be the same tuition as if you were taking classes without a study abroad. The only fee would be that $4,350. If you do go over 18 credit hours in the winter quarter, then you do pay extra tuition. But if you don't want to do that, just make sure you register in the right number of classes so that when you have these 6 credits, you stay at 18 credits or less. And that's sort of the brief overview of things. If you have questions, we'll stick around here, but also you can email me if you have questions about logistics or about anything with the application process. Windsor's there to talk about the course itself and the time in Ecuador, but we will definitely open it up to any questions that people might have right now. So anything we can answer for you.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So since we're meeting on Tuesdays from 1 to around 4, when I pick my classes for the winter quarter, is there like a certain class I pick for that like time frame?
Oh, good point. Good point. I meant to mention that. If you get accepted to the study abroad program and decide to move forward, we will register you in the classwork for these. So you don't have to do anything. You actually can't register yourself. Our office will register you in it. So just leave space in your schedule. That's all you have to do. If you'd like to register in a backup class in the meantime until you see what happens, feel free, and then you can drop it, or you can just leave room in your schedule, but we will register you in the classes for this.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. What else? Any other questions? All right. Well, we encourage you to apply. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. And thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. And have a good weekend.
Yeah, just to reiterate, any questions about the program itself, feel free to email me.